Okay, let's look at how we can access data from our tables. I've created some demonstration tables here. I've got a table on line 2 named fruits, where I've inserted some names of some fruits, and I've got another similar table on line 5 named veggies, except this time I've used method 2 of creating the table. So I've done the same thing with associative arrays on line 12 and 15, describing an apple and a carrot. Okay, so let's go ahead and access some of this data. Now we've got a few different ways of doing this. There's basically a few different ways that you're going to want to focus on anyhow in order to learn. So let's go ahead and set up a dialog message box, and that'll be our method of displaying our little tests here. And we'll go ahead and start with the fruits table. Now this is a numeric table, so typically what you're going to do is access the elements of this array numerically. So we'll say, for example, fruit number 2 is in the title of the message box, and in the body of the message box we'll type the name of the table, fruits, and then we'll go ahead and type 2 so that we can get the second element. Okay, we'll go ahead and preview that, press F5. As you can see here, it says fruit number 2 is orange, which it is, so that was accurate. And that's the first way that you can access an element from a numeric array. And it's important to note also here that you can also say, for example, n equals 2, store that value in a variable, and then use the variable in your reference here at the end of line 21 to the fruits table. So for example, we can say n equals 2 and then access fruits n, and when we preview this, you'll see it works exactly the same as if we had typed 2 into the square braces. Okay, and similarly, actually I'm going to go ahead and erase this, you can also do, for example, an equation inside here, a function. So we could say 1 plus 1, and it would still display the second element there because 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, so you can see that works, and that's a few different ways you can do that. You could either type in 2 here, or you could type in the name of a variable that contains that value, or you could have an equation or function in there. Okay, so those are different ways of accessing the elements of a numeric array. Let's go ahead and just review that again. And this time we'll use the veggies array. So I'm typing in a dialog message box. Okay. Oops, a little snafu there. Dialog message box. And I'm going to put in the title veggie number, how about veggie number 4 is. This is just a very simple way of doing this, but I just want to demonstrate for now the most basic ways of accessing this data. And so in the body portion here, we're going to type the name of the veggies table, which is veggies, and then we're going to type 4 in square brackets, and that's going to give us the fourth element. So we'll go ahead and preview that, and you can see it says veggie number 4 is celery, so that worked good. So I'll press OK and exit out of there, and we'll take a look at another way of accessing elements here. And this time we're going to access our associative tables. So for example, we've got a table here on line 12 which contains various descriptors about an apple. Let's go ahead and set up another dialog message box, and this time we're going to set for the title apple color is, and in the body of our dialog message, so I'll just set up a quotation here, we're going to go ahead and access the data there for the apple color via array notation, and that's via those square brackets that we were using already. So we'll say apple, which is the name of the table, then we're going to put our square brackets again, and in this particular case we're going to put in quotation marks color. Okay, so we'll go ahead and preview that, and as you can see here, it accessed the apple color from that table. Okay, let's go ahead and press OK, and let's look at the second way we have of doing this. I'm going to erase this little value here at the end of line 21, and we're going to retype it. This time we're going to use something called dot notation. So we'll say apple, which is the name of the table, dot, and then we're going to type in the name of the element we want. In this particular case, it's going to be color. So we'll preview that, and we should get the exact same result we just got. Okay, so you can see it worked, and basically the difference between array notation and dot notation is just going to be personal, and also whether or not you're accessing values dynamically and so forth. So basically I just encourage you to try them both and see which works better for you in each project scenario. But those are the two ways that you can access elements of an associative array, is via the dot notation or the array notation. Okay, so let's go ahead now and take a look at a very special statement called a for loop, which is designed specifically for walking through tables. So I'll say for. Now I'm going to set up a couple values. In this case, I'll use index and value. And then I'm going to name the table. In this case, let's use the veggies table. So I'll say in veggies, do, and then we have to have an end portion to our statement. And this creates a loop through our table veggies, and each time it loops through, it's going to store the number of the loop, for example 1, 2, 3, 4, in this variable named index, and it's going to store the corresponding value from the veggies array, for example carrot for 1, lettuce for 2, broccoli for 3, etc., in this value variable here. Okay, so that when we run it, with each loop, it's going to actually shift that value for me so that I can access it and use it for whatever I need. So to simplify this, let's just go ahead and demonstrate it. We'll set up a dialog message box. Okay, and I'm going to put in the title portion of this dialog message box veggie number, and then I'm going to go ahead and insert that index number by concatenating it in between the strings here, and then I'll say is, so it's going to tell us what number veggie we're on, and then I'm just going to go ahead and insert the value for the body. So when we preview this, you'll see what it does is it loops through the array, and it tells us veggie number 1 is carrot, veggie number 2 is lettuce, veggie number 3 is broccoli, which I think I might have misspelled, and veggie number 4 is celery. Okay? So that's a very special for loop which you can use to walk through tables, and you can get their values and use them for whatever you like. But quite commonly you're going to be walking through a table. For example, if you have tables storing product data in a catalog or employee data and so forth, you're going to typically be designing applications that walk through that data and either look for some particular element or are formatting that data for display. So this is just a great example of how you can do that. Now, in this particular case, I just want you guys to note that you don't have to use the words index and value here. Those are the ones I chose. You could change this. For example, you could say for j, comma, k, and then, oops, as long as you change those here, it'll work just fine. For example, we'll go ahead and preview that, and you can see what I mean. Again, veggie 1 is carrot, veggie 2 is lettuce, veggie 3 is broccoli, veggie 4 is celery. Okay, so those are the 3 primary ways for you to focus on retrieving data from your tables. Let's go ahead and move on to the next lesson now.